Are we live? We are live. Thank you for that. We have our brand new system in place today, so bear with us for any technology challenges, but I will call the meeting to order. I would just like to let council know that I am removing item 18C from the agenda today pending further staff investigation and discussion on that issue. Would you do a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Sir Shortreed,
Present.
Councillor Barry,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Danielson,
You're on mute, Liz.
Present. My apologies.
and Mayor Moffat.
I am present. Thank you. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and water since time immemorial. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that the March 17th, 2022 council meeting agenda be approved as amended.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or other interest today? Councillor Shortreed.
I do on report PL 03122, so I'll have to sit out for that.
And which item is it?
It is planning.
And it's E?
Sorry.
No, 31. I think it's E. Okay, thank you for that. Oh, and you need to state why, the general nature thereof, please.
This property severance, the purchaser is my employer.
Great, thank you. I have no remarks today particularly. May I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the previous minutes? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Barry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that the March 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting minutes be approved as circulated.
All in favor? It's carried, thank you. May I have a mover and a seconder to proceed into the public meeting? Councillor Shortreed and Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved, council adjourns its regular meeting at 9:08 a.m. to proceed into a public meeting for the purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application Laylaw AHZBA 122, part of lot 16, concession 12, geographic township of Sherburne.
All in favor? That's carried, thank you. We'll bring in the planner. Good morning, Mr. O'Callaghan.
Good morning.
Would you please tell us about this file?
Certainly. The property is located on Russell Landing Road. It's currently zoned recreational commercial exception 5 and designated as waterfront commercial under the official plan. The property is approximately 8.45 acres in area with 320 meters of frontage on Quagma Lake. Surrounding uses are generally recreational commercial, rural, and shoreline residential. And the lands are currently developed as a marina. The owner is proposing to allow a refreshment vehicle, a food truck, and a restaurant as an additional permitted use on the property. The current C3-5 zone does limit the non-residential uses permitted on the property to that of a marina, recreational vehicle sales, service establishment, housekeeping cottages, and a convenience store. The proposed amendment would rezone the lands from recreational commercial exception 5 to recreational commercial exception 14, which would allow a restaurant and a refreshment vehicle as additional permitted uses on the property. Notice of the rezoning was posted on the property, circulated to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands, posted on the township website, circulated to all prescribed agencies and to the Coagama Lake Property Owners Association. No written objections have been received to date. 103 letters of support have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed bylaw amendment as circulated.
Great, thank you for that. Yeah, there's a lot of good work being done at that location. So this is one sort of great addition to that lake community. I would look to council for any thoughts, comments, or questions from about the file, or to Sean. Anybody? Nope. Okay, then I would ask, I think there's some of the applicant folks are here, and I would ask if any of those folks would like to say anything. Again, first day with the brand new system, so bear with us for the technology part.
Hello, I just wanted to show support. I'm a cottager.
Sir, I run the show here. Thanks. You can just wait till the other people are in, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Okay, everybody appears to be here. And so, sir, go ahead, Mr. Evans.
I just wanted to show support for the application. It sounds like you already have enough, but I just wanted to show support. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Are there others who would like to speak to it? And I apologize. I will embarrass myself by publicly saying I need to go to the eye doctor because I can't read the names on the bottom of the screen. So the lady on the left, who I believe is the manager for the marina property.
Hi, it's Alicia.
Hi, sorry.
No, please, no apologies needed. I was just here in case anyone had any questions. So it looks like everything is moving along forward. So I won't take your time.
Great, thank you. And the last folks, and again, I can't read the names, but there's a young man there in the middle.
Hi, we work at the food truck and we were just here to show our support.
Oh, you're a couple of the 300 brothers.
Yes.
You'll have to ask your brother about that. Okay, thank you for that. There appears to be full support for this, so I would ask for a resolution to resume the regular council meeting. Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Barry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that the public meeting be adjourned at 9:13 a.m. and the regular meeting resume.
All in favor? Oh, Sean, sorry, before we call the vote.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make sure there was one other person on the list. I'm not sure if they logged in, and if they did not, then that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure.
It doesn't appear that that person did.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we're good. Okay, I'm going to call that vote again. You've heard the resolution. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you to members of the public who have joined us today, and you'll be leaving us now. Thanks. I may have a mover and a seconder to adopt the report and direct the bylaw be tabled later in the meeting. Councillor Shortreed, Deputy Mayor Danielson.
By Councillor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved, council receives report PL 2922 regarding the rezoning of lands application AHZBA 122 located at part of lot 16, concession 12, geographic township of Sherburne, submitted by Sean O'Callaghan, dated March 17th, 2022, and that council directs a bylaw be tabled for consideration during its regular meeting.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. We'll see you later on.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 10, building and bylaw enforcement business. We'll bring in Mr. Moore. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
For you is monthly activities.
Yes, so there's really nothing new on this report. Looks like we're on tap to be as busy as last year as far as permits are concerned. Looks like we've got about 18,000 in permit fees and construction value of 1.7 million in the last month.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I think you're right. It does point to another busy year, which is, both good and bad, but certainly shows that the community is growing. Are there any questions from council on Greg's report today? May I have a mover and a seconder to receive it? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that council receives report BLDG 322 regarding monthly activities submitted by Greg Moore dated March 17th, 2022.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Parks, Rec and Trails business is next. We'll bring in Mr. Card. Morning, Chris.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
A couple of things for you today. First up is your activity report for the month of February. Is there anything you want to highlight for us?
Currently, we are accepting applications for seasonal maintenance positions. Our other postings have closed. Oh, sorry. We are also accepting applications for stewardship youth ranger program positions. Those are all posted on our website. I'd also like to highlight to council trails related revenue. I'm looking at 2022, comparing it to 2020, because of course, last year at this time, our reservations weren't open due to COVID restrictions. And where we stand right now is the revenue we've received between the start of the year and the end of February is what I typically expect to see between the start of the year and the end of June. That's not to say we may have an overall increase in attendance, but more so that I'm seeing people planning their trips further in advance, likely just due to competition that's been increasing for these types of trips over the past couple of years with COVID. So we'll see how it plays out over the year as far as attendance goes, but it has started out as another record busy year as far as reservations go.
Yeah, and again, just like the building permits and revenues, it's a great thing, but it also makes me a little bit nervous because increased infrastructure needs, right, and increased maintenance needs, and I think we're at the ready for that, though. Does council have any questions of Chris on his monthly activities report? May I have a mover and a seconder to receive it? Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that council receives report PRT 822 regarding monthly activities submitted by Chris Card dated March 17th, 2022.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Skin Lake Landing. A little bit of a chat here, I think.
Yes, so this is to give council information on the results of the request for proposal, which recently closed, and make recommendations on how to move forward, and also get some input from council on how or what level of involvement council may or may not wish to have with the design phases, and which may ultimately play into negotiations for costs, which will affect timelines. So we only received one proposal over a 3-week posting. It was in the cost of $68,000 of a $100,520 budget. So this is just for the consulting services and the project management services. That total $100,520 budget is the amount budgeted as recommended during the asset management plan exercise a couple of years ago for the replacement of that landing, and the consulting service fees are representing 68% of the total project budget, which is significantly higher than what I would have anticipated, typically around 15 to 20%. However, in reviewing the proposal and what I was looking for and requesting within it, based on how proposals are submitted, they're very much lump sum fees. And part of my request in this proposal was for a concept design phase that would council would have the opportunity to be involved in, where we would be starting out with a concept design that allows myself, staff, and council to review visually what this plan would look like. This would come out of site meetings with me and the consultant ahead of time. But in a proposal, it's listed as a lump sum fee, and I asked for up to 3 possible revisions. And depending on the scope changes, whether or not each one of those revisions come back to council would affect costs. So those fees for that, as well as what would then lead into the detailed construction design phase, are given as a lump sum. My hope would be that we could go into negotiations with this bidder and instead suggest that those would be charged per diem based on how many times we need to go back and forth, rather than an upfront lump sum saying, here's how much it costs. We'll offer you up to 3 meetings, up to 3 back and forths. Those 2 parts of the project are really the only places that we're going to be able to save costs and time, because the proposal does indicate that given the scope, that timelines, they're suggesting they wouldn't be able to meet the timelines for completion for the end of this year. It'd be the end of next year, having gone through the design and the tender process this year. Along with option 1, I offer or I ask council a couple of questions, which would ultimately, if we wanted to go that direction, give me information for the negotiation. And the other options are, of course, we can accept the proposal as is and move forward, or cancel the current call and do another call. So looking for, through the mayor, feedback from council.
Thank you for that. Yeah, looking just to council for their thoughts on the process. Deputy Mayor Danielson.
I think unfortunately, this is an indication of what we're going to be facing going forward, based on some of the work that was done on the asset management plan a couple of years ago, and given the changes that we've experienced. I think that Chris knows what we need, and that we don't necessarily need to be involved on so many occasions with the discussions or design aspects of the project. I'd like to see us go ahead, because I don't think that it will be cheaper in the future. So, I would opt for option number 1.
And thoughts from other members of council. Councillor Shortreed.
I agree with Liz. Chris does know what we're looking for, and I think prices are going to keep going up and up, not down and down. So I agree with option 1.
Councillor Bear, did you have anything to the contrary?
No, I support option 1. My question is, do we have any sort of an estimate on, you say that right now, as it stands at 68% of the total budget, what that might be if we go with option 1? Will that change?
Would that, so what the savings would be? So that's what I'd have to go through negotiation on. It would not be significant enough to bring it down to the 20% that I would have expected, the 15 to 20%, but it will be less. And once we get into the request for tender, given these costs and given that I'm not going to be able to get it down that much, there may have to, once we get tenders back, be another discussion, depending how much that is.
Yeah, and that would happen. That's the purpose of the negotiations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. I guess the questions that Chris is looking for, if we're supporting option number one as recommended, is the level of council's involvement. It's my belief that the new process that we developed was meant to keep us out of the weeds. That we went a little off-piste with the last project and subsequently developed the new process. So I don't think that any of us I think Liz already said the same thing, but we're not contractors. We don't know the needs of that location. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing conceptual designs out of interest, but I think in terms of the construction or the plans, I think Chris can handle that. That's what staff do for us, but looking for thoughts from council on the two questions Chris has posed in his report. Councillor Barry?
I think you've sort of summarized that we're all in support of what we've sort of discussed already. I don't feel the need to review other than just an update on where the project is heading. That's really, it's not an approval, but it's an interest.
Yeah, and so are looking for a couple of nodding heads there. Or Liz, did you have your hand up? Nodding heads. Perfect.
I did. I was just going to say that, I totally agree. And that the only thing that I think we need to really look at seriously, other than, having a chance to look at the design and ooh and ah a little bit, is to approve whatever final, budget comes back to us for construction.
Yeah, this is not the last time we'll see this project, but yeah, I just want to clarify the parameters of council's involvement beyond what our normal purview would be. Okay, so that's terrific. Thank you for that. Is there anything further on this that needs to be asked or answered? Chris?
Yeah, so just to confirm, I'm going to work to reduce or eliminate the concept design phase, not including council at that or the construction plan review phase.
Yeah, I think we'll see, the needs of the location, and we'll eventually see something out of interest. Our responsibility is the dollars, not the building of infrastructure. So yes, I think you're hearing that correctly. If there's nothing further, may I have a mover and a seconder on this report? Councillor Short Reading, Councillor Barry.
By Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives report PRT 922, Lower Fletcher Lake Landing Project Management Consulting Services RFP results submitted by Chris Card dated March 17th, 2022. And the council hereby closes PRT 2201, request for proposal for project management consulting services in accordance with the township's procurement policy, and direct staff to proceed with option one, to enter into negotiations with the loan bidder and report back to council at a future meeting.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Public Works business is next. I see that Madam CAO's name is on the reports. Are you flying solo on these? What?
No, Adam will be coming in.
Okay, we'll bring in Mr. Thorne then. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Thank you once again for filling in the big chair today. First for you is surface treatment tender.
Yes, so as the report shows that we did put the tender out. It was a joint tender with the county, and unfortunately, the bid came in over budget. This is just due to the cost of materials and things that are going on in the world currently. So the work hasn't changed, just the cost of materials. So this is also a joint project between Public Works and Parks, Rec and Trails, where we will be assisting with the resurface of the Tower Road in Dorset. So as the report shows, we are over budget on those two sections, and just looking for council's approval to allow for more funds to be brought forward to have these roads completed.
Yeah, and this is, a little red flag in the back of my head that's, it's very early in the year, and we during budget certainly talked about the need to have more funds available and the uncertainty of project pricing. I don't know that we have much choice, but we do need to be attentive to what it does to the bottom line. So thoughts from council on how to move forward with this and what your choices are. Deputy Mayor Danielson.
You know, as discussed about the landing, I don't think that we're going to get better prices as we go forward. I'm not sure that we can really afford to defer it. It's interesting to see the spread in prices from the three different bidders. I think we've been, you know, probably given as good a price as we can get, and that we should move forward.
I'm looking for nodding heads or hands to the contrary. Nodding heads. Terrific. Then that's what we'll do. May I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Danielson, Councillor Shortreed.
By Deputy Mayor Jansen, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that council receives report PW 822 regarding the surface treatment tender results submitted by Adam Thorne dated March 17th, 2022, and the council hereby concurs with the recommendations made in the said report and accepts a tender bid for Miller Paving Limited in the amount of $368,613 plus applicable tax for the supply and application of double surface, single surface treatment with fog seal and slurry seal. And the council authorizes the award of tender 2022-9A for the supply and application of surface treatment pertaining to Algonquin Highlands. And further, that council hereby authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the required agreement.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next up for you is the airport drainage improvements tender.
Yeah, so this was also a tender that was out last year that closed and was brought to council, and it was put on hold for hopefully to see some lower pricing. But again, unfortunately, we're not seeing that. So to not prolong this project any further, staff did bring forward a budget number to council for approval, which was discussed. And then this is just basically asking for the approval of the bid that was submitted by Weir Gradall.
Any questions or comments from council? May I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Danielson, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Jansen, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that council receives report PW 922 regarding the Stanhope Airport drainage improvements tender approval submitted by Adam Thorne dated March 17th, 2022. The council hereby concurs with the recommendations made in the said report and accepts the tender bid from Weir Gradall in the amount of $297,597.97 plus applicable tax to complete the Stanhope Airport drainage improvement project.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. And finally for you, Adam, is the monthly activities. Just like the others, very busy. Anything you want to highlight for us?
Just that, again, you know, I'm all about teamwork. So we had a great collaboration between maintenance and road staff and the airport staff down at the airport with this rain that we've been getting or had this past month, this extreme amount of freezing rain. It was as long as I've been doing this, I think this is the heaviest rain I've seen, an ice buildup. So it was a great collaboration of the team to get together and clear the snow and ice away from the buildings to mitigate as much water getting in as we possibly could. Between that and just want to say, you know, big shout out to our staff about dealing with the ice that we had to deal with this past month. It was a lot. So our trucks were out regularly, keeping everybody on the road. And yeah, it was a busy month with weather, that's for sure. It was up and down.
It was up and down. And as we know, you know, with changing climate and changing weather patterns, the extremes are going to are becoming the new normal. So I don't think it's going to be considered a one-off. It's just going to keep going like this, I believe. Any questions from council on this particular report? May I have a mover and a seconder to receive it? Councillor Barry, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved council receives report PW 1022 submitted by Angie Bird dated March 17th, 2022.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Adam, please extend council's thanks to Public Works staff for the work they've done with the weather we've had.
Will do. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Fire services business is next. We'll bring in the fire chief. Good morning, Chief.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
You have your monthly report. What would you like to highlight for us today?
So there's a couple highlights. The first one is our call volume, that still remains low. We're down 37.5% for the first 2 months of the year, with 66% reduction in calls for the Station 80. It's just a trend right now. I think all in all, by the end of the year, it'll balance out to every other year's rates. The other highlight I have is our recruit training as well in progress, along with our ice water training took place in the late part of February. I just want to acknowledge the volunteers who took their time on the weekends to do the recruit training and the ice water training. It just shows real commitment on their part, ensuring that they're prepared for any emergency that should arise within our township.
Yeah, I know the ice water rescue training. There was a number of photographs on social media, and the public response was quite positive. So I think folks do realize the amount of effort volunteer firefighters put in to keep the community safe. So we certainly thank them for that as well. Does council have any questions for the fire chief? May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, council receives fire services report FD 722 regarding monthly activities submitted by Michael French and dated March 17th, 2022, and that council accepts the resignation of Nick Pratt effective March 3rd, 2022. And finally, that council appoints Dylan Nyman as a firefighter for Station 60 and Brian Johnson as a firefighter Station 80.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Finance business is next, and we'll bring in the treasurer. Morning, Jeannie.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Yes, and to you. I don't see that you're wearing green, though.
I don't own green, sorry.
Fair enough. There seems to be a theme. A number of reports for you. First up is the accounts summary, and I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything they want to add, comment. Seeing none, we have a mover and a seconder to receive it. Councillor Shortreed, Councillor Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council has reviewed the expenditures incurred in the total amount of $631,001.53 and hereby approves payment as same.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks. And secondly is the budget matters, expenses.
Thank you. So this is the annual report that is required under Regulation 284-09, Budget Matters Expense. As our budget does not include budgeting for amortization expenses, post-employment benefits, and solid waste landfill closure, we have to itemize these and include them in to see what the effect would be. Notably, we don't have we do not have post-employment benefit expenses. And the township does budget to provide reserves and reserve funds. So as you can see, we are showing a slight deficit this year based on the estimates. And that is expected, or can be expected. It's reasonable to expect this as the township's asset inventory and associated amortization expenses continue to grow. These deficits may occur. So it's just council to be aware and to keep in mind that it is important that assets are replaced in a timely manner to avoid fluctuations in tax rate and the issuance of debt. So this is just for information only. It does have no financial effect, and our budget incorporates all aspects of this township's strategic vision.
Thank you for that and for the detailed explanation. Are there any questions from council on this particular report? No, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive it? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, Council adopts Treasury Report TT 1022 submitted by Jean Hughes and dated March 17, 22 pursuant to the requirements of the Municipal Act 2001 Ontario Regulation 284-9.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Final budget summary.
Thank you. So this is just to summarize the final discussions that we had on March 3rd and highlight or kind of summarize what we agreed on that day, which was the inclusion of the cultural plan and the change that the airport development plan update now be funded from the reserves versus the levy. Council added back in the AVL project, which was predominantly coming from reserves. There was a $4,200 expense to the levy. And then council also decided that we should add an extra $10,000 into the levy for the higher costs that we're anticipating, not only in fuel, but in materials, which Adam has seen, we've seen by Adam's reports. And we also, council agreed to fund the full cost of the replacement of the both docks at Raven Lake, covering Lake of Bays portion. And that again is coming from reserves. So the changes, there was some that were affecting the levy, some didn't affect the levy, and some were very minimal. So another thing that was within the budget right from the get-go was a 2% cost of living for wages, and council agreed with that. So we are addressing that with the bylaws in the bylaws section of the meeting. And then the final deliberations resulted in an overall decrease in reserves of 31.5%, which I must say is it was hovering between 30 and 32. So we're right in where we kind of started the whole process. We didn't change a great amount. So overall, it's an increase of $239,000, $239,412, which is 4.16% increase in the levy, which results in a 2.33% increase in the municipal tax rate. And now that the county has passed their tax rates for 2022 and education rates are in place, the overall effect of the changes in our budget for 2022 is a 2.11% increase in the tax rate overall, which equates to about $14.94 per every 100,000 of an assessment for the year. So I prepared bylaws for the adoption of the estimates and the tax rates, and that's further on in the meeting. So
thank you for, sorry, I just cut you off there. I didn't mean to do that. Were you finished?
Yeah, I just was saying if anybody has any questions, so.
Yes, any questions from Councillor Barry?
Sorry, am I reading that somehow I missed this, the education went down? I'm sort of, it's remained the same?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, the education went down a number of years ago and has stayed there. It used to be higher, but you know, the big crossed finger was what was the education rate going to be. So, you know, if it was higher before, it's remained stable for a number of years now, but it could pop back up in the future. You just never know.
Correct.
Other questions from council? Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Not a question so much as just a comment. I'm still concerned about the price of fuel and whether or not we've included enough in the budget for that, given its impact on so many areas of our budget. And you know, I know that we added an additional amount of money, And I suspect that the response will be that there's sufficient funds in reserve should we run into problems. But, it's gone up substantially again since we last discussed it. And anyway, just a comment. Bottom line is that there's been a lot of really hard work done, and the end result is really good, considering the challenges that we were facing to begin with.
Yeah, I can't disagree on that. And we did have the conversation about fuel, and I do know that the fuel, just the word is just completely gone out of my head. Mileage, the county is going to be reviewing its mileage. The beauty of that is that mileage that had been accounted for in previous years has not been spent, certainly for council. But it may go up. But are we still okay with the 10,000? If our next report is about resuming in-person meetings and committees, which could, for some, will increase mileage. So as long as there's confidence that that amount of money is enough, then we can go ahead. But I would look to council to see if you feel that extra 10,000 is still going to be enough. And I'm not seeing any gross objections. Councillor Barry?
I am caution. I feel caution for both, for not doing it or raising them. I feel that we have raised them, and I'm hoping that staff sort of recommended that we were fine without raising them, and we raised them anyway. So I'm hopeful that we've sort of taken a caution approach, and hopefully it comes out at the end.
Well, if it falls again, we should be okay. And I think it just is important for all of us, staff and council, and anybody who's traveling for municipal business, just be aware of not making unnecessary trips and not idling when unnecessary. And I think everybody will just be attentive to how how fuel is used. Did you have your hand up, Madam CIO?
I did, yes, thank you. And I think we are okay. There really is no way to know what to put in the budget for it, but we will have supplemental taxes at the end of the year if there is a shortage. So I'm confident that we're covered.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's going to be more of an impact is project costs that are coming in higher than anticipated. I don't want to say it's a bit of a gamble because far too much work has gone into building a budget to say that it's the roll of the dice. But where some will be over, some might be under, and sort of 'twas ever thus. And as the deputy mayor said, it's a good budget, and we've worked hard for it. So would thank staff for their work on that. There's always going to be more projects that need doing than we have money to do them with. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council on the budget? I'm not seeing any hands going in the air. Do you want to go through the additional reports, the cost centers and the reserves and the budget impact final? Do you want to go through those? It's the same as our last meeting, so. Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the reports and pass the budget? Councillor Shortreed and Barry.
By Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council accepts report TT 1122 as presented by Jean Hughes in reference to the 2022 final budget.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Administration business is next, and we have a report from the clerk on the potential resumption of in-person council and committee meetings. So if you would take us through that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff is seeking a direction from council if they wish to resume their in-person committee meetings, advisory committee meetings, and the second part is in-person council meetings. An email was sent to all the advisory committees asking to express their interest to returning. And out of the emails, the Oxton Lake Community Center Committee, the Dorset Museum and Stanhope Museum committees are interested in resuming meetings. And the Cultural Resources Committee, at the time of the report and to date, 2 members have confirmed they are interested. And we are still waiting to hear back on the additional 2 that have not responded as of yet.
Okay, so I'd like to break the conversation into two pieces. The first one is about resumption of in-person council meetings and, the restrictions are being lifted. Life is sort of getting back to normal, but COVID has not left us and still is popping its head up here and there. So looking for a conversation with council about your comfort level and willingness to resume in-person meetings, keeping in mind that for 2 years, staff have done a really good job of creating, their own working bubble as a small group. I mean, a lot of times folks are working from home. And that if council chooses to resume in-person meetings, that everybody is going to have the utmost respect for the wishes of others. So that if anybody has concerns or hesitancies, they will be just respected carte blanche so that we can maintain a good working relationship and provide a safe environment for all. So looking for thoughts from council about getting back together in this big room that feels very empty with just a few of us in it. Councillor Shortreed.
It's been a long time. I have no problem at all coming back anytime. And I think we're going to see COVID around for a long time. So basing it around that is irrelevant because it's just going to keep popping up its ugly head here and there.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Councillor Barry.
I support meeting back in person. I just would like to know if council will be doing any sort of screening. I understand that staff does screening to come in, and if that will be part of the protocol as well.
I would look to you for that, Madam CAO.
Yes, thank you. Part of the provincial requirements have been that we've done screening, and that's been on a daily basis for months and months. That is being lifted. And so because we've been following provincial mandate all the way along, that will be lifted as well.
Deputy, sorry, Lisa, did you have a follow-up to that? Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Danielson.
I absolutely and totally look forward to meeting in person, and it's just so much nicer to discuss matters face to face and actually being together. I just really look forward to that. So the sooner the better.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to circle back again. I know I'm sort of repeating myself, but I want to ensure that we all agree that we will be respective of other people's space. And I know in the past, we've all at one time or the other come in, and folks who may be watching may not be familiar with the layout of the office, but it has been the case in the past that any or all of us had business with a member of staff would just sort of just wander out of the kitchen and move around. And we might need to just reconfigure how we conduct ourselves in that regard, sort of maybe keeping a bit of a council side in relation to this room and keeping a bit of a buffer for the staff side. So I would look to the CAO to have some thoughts around that, just so that we can just be respectful of folks' wishes.
Yeah, and just to add to that, thank you. Department heads at our last meeting, we did discuss the mask mandate being lifted and everyone's sensitivity around it. Although they're not going to be required in the office, as Mayor Moffat has indicated, there are some sensitivities around masking, and staff have been told absolutely no question that if they prefer to wear a mask, they're welcome to do so. If they prefer anyone who comes into their office in their own space, if they want to request someone to wear a mask, that they're absolutely within their rights to do that. And hopefully that will be respected. So, and everyone was very happy with that. So we look forward to getting back to normal, that's for sure.
So that would mean, oh, sorry, go ahead, Liz.
No, I was just going to add to what Angie was saying. It's a personal choice for all of us. Everybody's got different comfort levels, and I think it's going to take us a little while to work through it and get back to what is normal going to be? It'll just take us some time, and yeah, I think we just have to respect those wishes for sure.
So it sounds like the wish is sooner than later. Our next meeting, March has an extra week in it. So our next meeting is April 7th. Is it council's wish to resume in-person meetings on April 7th?
It is for me.
Yep, okay, great. That's what we will do then. Thank you for that conversation. And secondarily is the committee situation. And I want to add in the airport committee because there was nobody to ask because that committee is on hiatus at the moment. So I think it's obviously the Dorset Recreation Center Committee, they're not interested because the center that they manage is closed. So the Oxtongue Lake Community Center, there's 4 members who wish to resume. They had 8 members, a quorum is 4. So that committee could meet. I guess the request of council to council is we are very close to the end of the term, and the beginning of the term is when committee members are, there's a call out for committee members and then they're appointed. So I'm looking for what council would like to do around Oxtongue. They can meet. Do you want to go out for more members or leave that till the next term or let that group of 4 decide what they'd like us to do? I think Oxtongue Lake is a small enough community, but I think they'll probably just rattle some cages in their own, amid their own neighbors and try and find some folks. Councillor Barry?
As I think I'm the only member here that sits on that committee currently, the main reason for meeting at this time of year would be to decide whether or not we would be going forward with Canada Day. So I think that this is just my opinion, but I feel that if Canada Day is going to proceed, well, Canada Day is going to proceed, but if there's going to be a festivity of some description, then if there isn't, then maybe it doesn't, because they typically don't meet in the summer. So I just think that sort of, in my opinion, hangs on the committee right at this point.
So maybe the committee could meet and have its own conversation about all of that and decide what it wants to do. And we may hear, we normally hear from the province when Canada Day money, there's always a little bit of funding that goes with those. We haven't seen anything yet this year, have we? No. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? Councillor Shortreed.
Since we're just talking about the Oxtongue, and I just want to go with all the rec centers, Councillor Barry and I sit on both the Dorset and the Stanhope. And obviously there's Dorset's not open yet. Stanhope, we have a hard time pulling people in. But I find, and I'm sure Councillor Barry will agree, that at most of our meetings, throwing around ideas, so on and so forth, that all our committee members look to the recreation coordinator to do all the work and everything. I feel like the committee members are just there to share ideas and let the rec coordinator to do all the work. So just throwing a thought out there that instead of having the actual rec committee, would it be more beneficial to have a event committee for like Dorset Snowball, Oxtongue Canada Day, so on and so forth? Because I think the rec coordinator is amazing and does a great job, and I don't think that we go in circles every time we have a meeting.
You're speaking about the Stanhope Rec Committee when you say that.
And Dorset.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think that was. Can we just go back to Oxtongue for a second? So, yeah. So Oxtongue can meet. They have enough, and Lisa, then you folks can decide and have some conversations about Canada Day. So that wraps up Oxtongue. They're good to go. They have enough for a quorum. They can meet. Yes. No. Yes. Lisa Berry.
I know that obviously we can't have a meeting via email, but I just wonder how are you recommending that we have a meeting to decide if we continue to meet?
No, for Oxtongue, you have enough people to meet. Your question is about Canada Day. I'm not going to decide about Canada Day. So okay. The committee can meet. They have enough people, so Sandra can set up a meeting with the Oxtongue people, and away they go.
Okay.
That's what I'm recommending.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll put a check mark there. My recommendation or request for discussion was about dissolving the Stanhope Committee. It has struggled on and off. Councillor Shortreed has introduced the idea of changing the recreation committees to events for both Dorset and Stanhope. I think the challenge we faced before, and it's clearly identified in the township's cultural plan, is that there are very specific communities around these committees. And there's often been a challenge to have a centralized committee because people are passionate about their particular area, not necessarily about, the entire municipality. So I would look to Councilors Barry and Deputy Mayor Danielson for thoughts on that. Liz?
Yeah, I don't disagree, but the cultural plan also tried to address, bringing us a little bit closer together, trying to, sort of work ourselves out of that, individual little niches and make us a municipality as a whole. So, I mean, maybe it is an idea to, we've got a little bit of time now. It's obvious that the Dorset Committee don't want to meet for now. The Stanhope Committee members are, we're not getting any kind of response that we'd look for there. So, I'm not sure. I'm thinking that might be an idea to try an events committee that would look at the overall municipality, but maybe you're right, and that'll fail.
I mean, I don't want to say at the outset that it will fail, but if we were to create an events committee that was for all, the Oxton folks have enough people to meet. The Dorset folks want to meet when they can. So that may be a conversation once the Dorset Rec Center committee is meeting again, and they have some input. I mean, maybe at some point there could be a collective meeting of all the folks who populate those committees and ask them if they'd like to, how they feel about that. We have volunteers who bring a tremendous amount of knowledge and energy to so many things that we do. And perhaps it's best to have a conversation with them, and maybe that's something that happens at the beginning of a new term. So we have 2 of 3 committees. One is not meeting, one can meet. And my suggestion is that for now, we just dissolve the Stanhope Recreation Committee and revisit it, perhaps under the umbrella of an overall events committee at the start of a new term, when there's an opportunity to go out for specific membership and then appoint those folks if it works. Councillor Barry?
As we have proceeded to go ahead with the swim and soccer program, a lot of the committee members, I would say they are avid volunteers in the community and are still willing to volunteer for these roles. And maybe that's where we land right now, opposed to attending meetings. I think people are much more willing to lend a hand than come up with ideas or events that potentially at this point could even still be canceled.
Yeah, good point. And I think to Julie's comment that, the recreation staff, they do a terrific job. And so maybe it is time to rethink public volunteerism, as you've suggested, and find different ways for folks to still be engaged and bring that energy to all the things that they do for the community. Lisa?
I just wanted to add that since this agenda has been published, I have received one more response from the rec committee in favor, but also in favor of helping out anyway. So whether that be a meeting or just volunteering. And also with the environment committee, I've had 2 people in total now agree that they would like to reconvene. However, if we didn't have staff and council on the committee, we would barely reach quorum.
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to go back to Stanhope. So we're going to agree that Stanhope will dissolve for now and be revisited possibly under a recalibrated volunteer system, perhaps in the shape of an events committee, where people can help where they want to. Okay, then the next on my list is the Environment and Stewardship Committee. So to your point, Councillor Barry, I would like to suggest that, again, we defer that to a new term of council. Are the 2 people interested on the Environment Committee the councillors? Is it you and Councillor Dayu, or were there members of the public who said they wanted to meet?
No, we have 2 members of council, 2 members of council that are committed, Melissa, the staff, and then we have 2 members of the public that are interested, and then 2 members of the public that have said that they would like to be dissolved.
Right. Well, in my book, members of council who are appointed to be on those committees and the staff person don't count. So the Environment and Stewardship Committee was developed to specifically have certain members of community groups involved for a more robust approach. We've never had that full complement of folks, I think, on that committee. And, what does council want to do with that? It could be, brought forward in the new term. Committee appointments are done in February of the new year. So there's a change in the elections October, the first meeting of council is November. And there's still, it's not great timing in terms of the time of year, but there's a little bit of time in there to do that recalibration and then go out advertising for a number of committees that need to be repopulated in whatever form, shape they take. Deputy Mayor Liz?
I would hesitate to say that we want to dissolve the Environment and Stewardship Committee because I think it's an important committee, plays an important role. What I sort of see is just kind of putting a hold on the committee meeting for now. Have a discussion with the new council, but before the beginning of the year and appointments are made, and just sort of decide at that time what our overall approach to committees is going to be, and advertise for more members and see if the existing members want to continue.
So I didn't say dissolve, I said defer.
Okay.
Defer to the new term. So we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit late in the game to try and get new members that need to be reappointed after such a long hiatus. Okay, so we'll do that. The Cultural Committee, again, there aren't enough people, but we've had the conversation at council about updating the cultural plan. So I asked, the email went out for the chairs to contact the people, and I said, well, the cultural committee wasn't on there. And at first, and so I said to the CAO, well, she said, who's the chair? And I said, yeah, I don't know. And she wrote back and she said, you are. So anyway, so I'm the chair, and I will endeavor to reach out to those folks to say, will you meet just to have the discussion about the needs for the updated cultural plan? And maybe folks will come for that meeting, have that conversation, and then that can justifiably inform next steps for the rejig of the cultural plan. So as the chair that I'd forgotten that I am after 2 years, I'll reach out to those folks and see if they'll meet to do that. And hopefully they'll say yes on that. And I want to also talk about the airport. We did put that committee on a hiatus, and Liz, you've been on the airport committee for a long, long time. But again, I was reminded that we did a review in 2019 and changed to an events committee, and which is more or less what they do, and would also suggest that be deferred to the new term too, and just in the new term, then go forward with a robust call for volunteers for the committees. Deputy Mayor Liz.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We have had difficulty getting and retaining members for the committee. I think the only problem with delaying is that really, if we were to reconvene now, given if we had members, we might be able to pull something together for an event at some point, maybe later on in the summer. But, it could be difficult given that I don't know if we would have a quorum. I'm not sure, I'm assuming that there was nothing sent out about the airport committee at all, given that it hasn't been meeting.
Yeah, the airport committee wasn't included. And I know that part of the conversation was at one point, even though we had reviewed in 2019, I think you had said yesterday, that the council had also said that it wanted to look at that again.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And so, again, a refinement or a redefinement of what these folks do could provide more or different opportunities for different people. As I say, I've already said volunteers do so much. The other issue is that council had said that Zoom would be a bit problematic for the committees. So the committees can meet in person, and there's no requirement, Madam Clerk, there's no requirement for them to be live streamed. No. And so we had talked before about, sorry, you have to press the button to be heard. And so if there's if the committee meetings that are going to reconvene are not live streamed, then we don't have the issue of having to go through a whole training process with committee members about how Zoom works and codes of conduct and different things like that.
Just as a reminder that once the meetings start, the agendas would need to be forwarded to our office about 5 to 7 days in advance to prepare to post to the public. And then those meetings would be open if the public was to show up to listen.
Same as before, yeah.
Yep, same as
And I
before.
think, you know, in the entire history of recreation and museum meetings, I'm not sure that any member of the public has ever sat in. They can if they wish. Okay, so I think we've gone step by step. I think we're representing our volunteers. We knew when we were having these conversations that a 2-year hiatus on all the committees, you know, might make folks refocus their efforts, you know, into other projects and things in their own lives. So it appears we've lost a few folks, which is too bad. And we would certainly thank all of them for all they've brought to us over the years. And but those who are interested in remaining with us, yeah, we'll get reinvigorated and hopefully put a call out for some new folks, populate the committees and get back to the good work they do. Is there anything further that anybody wants to say about the committees meeting? Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive this report? And seal our discussion. Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives report CO 822, in-person council and committee meetings submitted by Dawn Newhook dated March 17th, 2022, and that council directs council meetings resume in person commencing April 7th, 2022, and further that council authorizes the Cultural Resources Committee, the Oxtongue Lake Community Center Committee, Dorset and Stanhope Museum Committees to resume in-person meetings, and further that council dissolves the Stanhope Recreation Committee and that this be revisited in the new term of council, and that the Environment Committee and Airport Committee be deferred to the new term of council.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Planning business is next, so we'll bring the planner back in. Welcome back, Sean.
Thank you.
First up for you is site plan application on Oxtongue Lake.
Yes, this is an application for site plan approval. This property was subject to a zoning amendment back in 2017. That application for zoning amendment was refused by council and appealed to the what was then the Ontario Municipal Board. From that appeal, minutes of settlement were reached, which detailed what could be constructed on this property and limited the maximum size, maximum lot coverage of structures on this property. So the site plan being requested today is for the development of a dryland boathouse. The proposal does comply with the minutes of settlement that were reached, and staff would be recommending approval of the site plan amendment as it's presented. Site plan approval.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Danielson, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Jansen, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that council receives report PL 3022 regarding the site plan application by Johns for part of Lot 7, Concession 12, Geographic Township of McClintock, Oxtongue Lake, submitted by Sean O'Callahan and dated March 17th, 2022. And further, that council supports the proposed site plan application subject to the following condition: that the applicant enter into a site plan agreement with the Township of Algonquin Highlands and to be registered on title, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the site plan agreement on behalf of the Township of Algonquin Highlands.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next up is the lot addition, and this is where Councillor Shortreed has a conflict. So she'll leave us. Okay, Sean, take it away.
Yeah, so this is for pre-consultation comments on a proposed lot addition between two developed properties on Quagma Lake. The area to be severed is approximately 0.18 acres in area, and it's to be added to a developed property to the south of the retained lands. Both properties will continue to have road frontage on Swift Lane. This seems like a fairly straightforward lot addition proposal, so staff are recommending approval in principle of the proposed severance with some standard conditions that we would typically request as part of that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a funny shaped piece of land and it took a little bit of examination to follow along the dotted lines. Questions or comments from council on this proposal? None? Councillor Barry, you thinking about that or?
No, I had trouble seeing the access to both, but Sean has said that they both will have access to the roadway. So that was my question.
Yeah, this is it's not really an easy drawing to follow, but if Sean's recommending it proceed, then we're okay with that. May I have a mover and a seconder? Well, there's only two of you. Councillor Barry and Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved, Council receives report PL 3122 prepared by Sean O'Callahan dated March 17th, 2022 regarding proposed severance of lands located on part of Lot 17, Concession 12, Geographic Township of Sherburne, McDonald, submitted by Arc Design Build, Inc. on behalf of Janice McDonald, and further council supports in principle the proposed severance subject to the following conditions. 1, payment of taxes, including penalty and interest. 2, settlement of 5% parkland dedication or cash in lieu in the amount of $250 for the severed parcel shall be paid to the Township of Algonquin Highlands pursuant to Section 51(1) of the Planning Act. 3, a copy of the draft reference plan be submitted to the planner of the Township of Algonquin Highlands for review and comment prior to the registration of the plan. And 4, that the severed parcel merge in title with the benefiting lands.
All in favor? I shall raise my hand in a vote. Make it 3. That's carried. Thank you. Silvertown is next. Application for consent.
Yeah, so this is the formal application for severance that's been received from the County of Haliburton. This was previously considered.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. I need to wait for Councillor Shortly to come back in. Okay, Councillor Shortreed is with us now.
Yes, so this application for consent has now been circulated by the County of Haliburton. This was previously considered by council in May of last year, where approval in principle was granted by council. This is for a lot addition between 2 adjacent pieces of property. It continues to be consistent with the original application considered by council, so staff are recommending approval with the same conditions attached to the report.
Any questions from council on the Silvertown proposal? May I have a mover and a seconder then? Councillor Shortreed, Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved that council receives report PL 3222 regarding proposed application for consent located on part of Lot 19, Concession 12, Geographic Township of Sherburne, located on Quagmore Lake, submitted by Sean O'Callahan and dated March 17th, 2022. And further, the council approves the proposed severance subject to the following conditions. 1, payment of taxes, including penalty and interest, settlement of 5% parkland dedication or cash in lieu in the amount of $250 for the severed parcel shall be paid to the Township of Algonquin Highlands pursuant to Section 51(1) of the Planning Act. 3, confirmation the right-of-ways known as Quarter Lane, Macomb Point Drive, and Laser Lane will continue to provide uninterrupted access to those who currently use it. 4, a copy of the draft reference plan be submitted to the planner of the Township of Algonquin Highlands for review and comment prior to the registration of the plan. And 5, the severed parcel merge in title with the benefiting lands.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Sanderson is next.
This is a bylaw to close the shore road allowance in front of this property, as well as another property on Hinden Lake. It's a joint application. So it was circulated for comments. No comments or objections were received or easements requested. So staff would recommend approval of the closing of these shore road allowances.
Questions or comments from council? May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Shortreed, Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councilor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved that council receives report PL 3322 regarding proposed shore road allowance closing fronting property located at part of Lot 1, Concession 2, Geographic Township of Stanhope, Sanderson, Hinden Lake, submitted by Sean O'Callahan, dated March 17th, 2022, and that council deems the said shore road allowance to be surplus and concurs with the recommendation made in the said report and directs a bylaw to stop up closing of the said shore road allowance be tabled for further consideration.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Shore Road allowance closing, Charles, Chadwick, and Hughes on Boshkung Lake.
This is an application to close the shore road allowance in front of these three separate properties. So it is a joint application on Boshkung Lake. They are all developed properties. There does not appear to be anything out of the ordinary with the application. So staff would recommend they proceed through the regular process to close the shore road allowances.
Any questions from council? May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councilor Barry.
By Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councilor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives report PL 3322 regarding the proposed shore road allowance fronting property located at part of Lot 8, Concession 3, Geographic Township of Stanhope, Charles, Chadwick, Hughes, Boshkung Lake. The council approves in principle application OSRA 3 ABC 22 made to stop up closing of the said shore road allowance, and that the applicants are requested to proceed in accordance with the shoreline road allowance closing procedure.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Zoning bylaw update. So I know it's a short report. I didn't watch the meeting live, but I had to go back and watch it. It was very well presented. And the lack of public involvement was really disappointing. There couldn't possibly have been an easier way to participate in what is essentially the most important piece of legislation that we ever pass. That's my comments on that. Sean, take it away.
Yes, well, I'm hopeful that means that we've done a good job of putting this draft together. But yes, there were no comments or no participants, that is, at the public meeting. We have received a total of 3 comments on the draft since it's been released for public comment. So with all that being said, just scheduling our next steps, I am proposing that we have our statutory public meeting at the April 21st meeting of council. Following that, should we receive any comments, we could make adjustments to that draft to bring its in its final form back to council the May 17th meeting for adoption.
I would like to know we didn't have a lot of comments, but we had some interesting comments. And what's the process with those? So you or somebody, you respond to these folks?
Yes, that is correct. So I have responded to everyone who's made comment on the proposal. So these are things or comments that council can consider, and if council wishes, we could revise the bylaw. My recommendation would be that we do not make the revisions based on comments received. I think the draft that we have right now adequately addresses what we've discussed in the past, and that would be my recommendation.
Okay, and I think I just would like to take a moment to, because there's only a couple of them, and look for if council's looking for any, asking for any consideration based on the comments. Like the bees, this is the first time we're formalizing bees, but don't kid yourself, bees are already here. So if bees prove non-problematic, that can always be expanded in the future from 5 to 20.
Yes, certainly. And I did also, in my response to that comment, advise them that on a rural property, you can have, what would be a typical beekeeping operation where you would be allowed to have a greater number of these colonies.
Okay, the third set of comments was quite comprehensive from Mr. Sexsmith, I believe. So, and you've responded to him in detail, I would assume. I wouldn't mind seeing the response that you sent to him, just out of interest, because of the detail of his questions.
Yes, I believe that was a phone conversation, if I recall correctly, but I'll double check.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does council wish to consider any of the comments that were provided in writing before next steps? Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Just on the first two, I think we've made good inroads in the B discussion. I'd like to see us just sort of leave things where it is for now, see how things work. With respect to the recommendation about a site alteration bylaw, that's a separate document that we would develop in the future, as opposed to including anything in this bylaw, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I know when this question had arrived by email, it was during the concerns raised in Dysart, and they were legitimate. At that time, I did email Sean and ask him, and he had responded similarly, as I'm sure he did to Ms. Zyman. And it, you know, there is merit in consideration of a site alteration bylaw, but separately, as you say. So we can just hang on to that for a while. All right, if there's nothing further from any members of council, I would look for a mover and a seconder to receive this update. Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson and second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, council receives report PL 3522 regarding proposed zoning bylaw update submitted by Sean O'Callahan and dated March 17th, 2022, and that council concurs with the recommendation made in the report. The legislated public meeting regarding the proposed comprehensive zoning bylaw update be scheduled at the April 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And finally is just our approval of the Committee of Adjustment minutes from February. May I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Barry and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Shortreed.
Oh, Councillor Barry, you have a question. I thought you were moving the report along.
No, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I've had it for a couple minutes. I just wanted confirmation. Are the public comments now closed for the zoning bylaw update?
No, so we can still accept comments, and we will be having the public meeting on the 21st of April. So the public can register to provide comments at that meeting or in writing beforehand.
Thank you.
So, Councillor Barry, did you want to keep your hand in the air to move that? Okay, you heard the resolution. Would you like it read again? Oh, you didn't finish it. My apologies. If you'd read the resolution, we'll carry on.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that council receives report PL 3622 regarding the February 25th, 2022 Committee of Adjustment minutes submitted by Sean O'Callaghan dated March 17th, 2022.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
External board meetings is next. I don't think there's anything to report for anybody, but I'd just like to reach out to members of council for any of the external boards that they're on. Is there any chatter about these groups meeting again? You heard nothing? The Muskoka Watershed, Lisa's nothing from them?
There's some working groups, but as far as the watershed, I haven't heard. I can reach out.
Okay. I don't know, Madam Warden, if there's anything from EORN that you want to thrill us with?
Nothing from EORN, no.
Okay, thank you for that. General business, then we have 3 pieces of correspondence. And just give me a second, I will open that up. And I believe you can lead us through those, Madam CAO. Okay, you're not. No, it doesn't matter. I was just, sometimes I'm not sure who's going to speak to these things. So this is a letter from the County of Haliburton. We did support this last year, I was reminded, but we can certainly do it collectively with the lower tiers or in the upper tier. So looking for support to send to support the County of Haliburton's letter. Deputy Mayor Danielson.
I know in a way this is kind of coming from the County of Haliburton, but I really think this is an important issue for us to be so far behind on assessment, and the impact that has on our revenue stream is really important to us all. And I'd like to see us support this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely, and I've already heard in my mind the ding of the inbox of someone who's very attentive to this issue, in combination with budget work. And one day those assessments are going to increase, and it's going to be a double whammy for folks, and it's a bit unfair. Okay, so I'm seeing support for this. May I have a mover and a seconder to do so? Councillor Short-Reed and Deputy Mayor Danielson.
By Councillor Short-Reed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved, Council receives correspondence from Haliburton County Council regarding the provincial-wide assessment, and the Council supports the County of Haliburton's motion to urges the Government of Ontario to reconsider its decision and direct that the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation to proceed with a province-wide assessment update in order for the County of Haliburton and local municipalities to be able to collect property taxes based upon actual property values to meet increased demands for municipal services, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the County of Haliburton, local municipalities, and MPP Laurie Scott.
All in favor? That's carried. Development charges, again, this is also something that we had supported previously. This is just asking for confirmation that we remain interested in this being pursued. Nodding heads, may I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Danielson, Councillor Short-Reed.
Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Short-Reed. Be it resolved that Council received correspondence from the County of Haliburton regarding the development charges background study, and further the Council confirms its interest in participating in the completion of a development charges background study.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The next item, as mentioned earlier, has been removed pending further investigation. And item D, my brain lit up when I saw this. And immediately sent a note to Madam Warden and the CAO of the county asking that this be addressed at the county level too. I feel that this is a very important issue, given the influx that we've seen right across the board, and it ties into the work that the county is doing in terms of shoreline health, lake health, crown land misuse, and short-term rentals. So I'm kind of hoping Liz and I can talk about this, but and I may mention it at the county if I have a chance to speak to it, that maybe there's going to be some sort of small working group or something to craft a response on behalf of, the County of Haliburton's particular interests and reasons for possible support of this and making a submission. So looking for thoughts from council on participating somehow, either individually as a municipality or through the county as a group. I'm seeing nodding heads, so. Great, then can I have a mover and a seconder to do so? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Barry. Would council like to provide something from Algonquin Highlands or join in a county initiative on behalf of the entire county? Deputy Mayor Liz, what do you say?
I'd like to see the municipality and hopefully all 4 municipalities join in and do a joint submission at the county level. I think that might have a little more emphasis. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I know there's people who like the idea of building a floating house and putting it in, one of the little coves of a lake somewhere, and they pay no taxes and just float around in the lake and live there for free. And I don't think that our taxpayers would appreciate that very much. And there's a lot of problems with that idea. So, especially unregulated. So then the direction is that we'll do something ourselves as well. Probably work on that. What does the resolution say so far? And that Algonquin Highlands will make its own submission and join in a county submission, should that be approved at county council, because it hasn't been there yet. So we're pre-approving involvement in something that county hasn't talked about yet. Is that against the rules in clerk world? Mhm.
It has, however, been officially approved to be included on the next agenda for discussion. So there is that at least.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're halfway there. Yeah, we had the ministerial delegation at Roma through the county about our Crown Land challenges and the greater interest in folks just being out and about on Crown land in accordance with the Public Lands Act. But it can be problematic for municipalities upon whom the burden falls for, policing, really, and enforcement. Councillor Barry, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wondered, will oceans and fisheries be involved in comment or?
I would assume that they would be aware of this, and they may have something to say. I mean, they're about navigable waters. So they may, who knows? Have you crafted? Do we have a mover and a seconder?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Jansen, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, Council receives correspondence from Peter G. Henry, Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, seeking input regarding the use of floating accommodation on waterways over Ontario's public lands, and that Council requests the matter be referred to the County of Haliburton for consideration for a joint response in collaboration with the local municipalities.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? So correspondence is next. Nothing was brought forward. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the summary listing? Councillor Shortreed and Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson. Be it resolved that Council receives the March 17th, 2022 correspondence listing for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're going into closed session next. Would Council like to go into closed and then have a quick break? Would you like us to go into closed first? Yeah. May I have a mover and a seconder to move into closed session? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, Council adjourns its open session at 10:37 a.m. to proceed into closed session to discuss matters pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 as amended, pertaining to 1, personal matters about an identifiable individual and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals in accordance with Section 239(2)B and 239(2)E of the 239(2)E planning application appeal. 2, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals in accordance with Section 239(2)E notice of claim.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll, so you want to do 1:45? Is that enough time? 10:02. 10:02. Yeah. All right. We'll see you back here at 10:02. Okay, we're back live. May I have a mover and a seconder to resume the regular council meeting? Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry, be it resolved. The council adjourns its closed session at 11:23 a.m. and open session resumed.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. May I have a mover and a seconder for the bylaws? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Barry.
By Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Barry, be it resolved the following bylaws be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed. Bylaw 2022-25 to adopt the estimates of expenditures and revenue for the year 2022. Bylaw 22-26 to provide for the setting of salary and wages for the year 2022. Bylaw 22-27 to establish the rates of remuneration for members of council for the year of 2022. Bylaw 22-28 to authorize the levying of rates of taxation for 2022, to establish the due dates for the payment of taxes, and to provide for penalty and interest to be added to unpaid taxes. Bylaw 2022-29 to authorize the entering into an agreement between the corporation of the Township of Algonquin Highlands and Miller Paving for the supply and application of surface treatment. Bylaw 2022-30 to amend bylaw 0322 comprehensive zoning bylaw of the Township of Algonquin Highlands as amended, application AH/BA 122, part of lot 16, concession 12, geographic township of Sherburne, Laidlaw. Bylaw 2022-31 to authorize the entering into a site plan control agreement for property located within the Township of Algonquin Highlands, being concession 12, part of lot 7, geographic township of McClintock, Johns. Bylaw 2022 to stop up closing and pay parts of the original shore road allowance lying in front of lot 1, concession 2, geographic township of Stanhope, Township of Algonquin Highlands, Sanderson.
All in favor? Well, that's carried. You may have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Shortreed, Councillor Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry, be it resolved bylaw 2022-33 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council during its regular meeting on March 17th, 2022, be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? And may I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn today's meeting? Councillor Barry, Councillor Shortreed.
By Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that the March 17th, 2022 regular meeting is hereby adjourned at 11:25 a.m.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We are officially adjourned. I wonder if members of council could just stay on the screen for a minute, because what I would like to do is have a photograph taken of our new setup from here, seeing us, showing us here, and you guys on the screen, and that way we can share with folks what it is our new setup looks like. So we can end the live stream, but we'll take a picture when we're done.